This past weekend, at the time of filming this video, it was the weekend of February 7th and 8th of 2026. I attended a Hardanger Fiddle workshop through the Hardanger Fiddle Association of America. If you don't know what a Hardanger Fiddle is, go look it up. YouTube it, Google it. They're beautiful instruments to look at and then also to hear. But that is besides the point. So while I don't play Hardanger Fiddle yet, I wanted to attend just to get a sense of the instruments some more and some of the tunes and just to watch some of these great players and teachers work and do all kinds of fun stuff on the workshop, and it was free, so I figured why not. There was a gentleman named, his first name was Gard. I feel like I'm going to do his last name injustice, so maybe I shouldn't pronounce it, but Nergard, but there, I've tried it anyways. And he taught a couple of Hardanger Fiddle tunes on the violin, so you can learn these tunes, of course, on a standard fiddle, and it works just fine. And one of the things he was discussing quite a bit in the class, just because of he brought it up organically, and that was allowed to kind of, people were asking questions, and it led to this nice little discussion on and off as he was teaching the tunes about microtonality on the violin. Now, the overarching idea here is to talk about what it means to be in tune on the instrument and what that can mean across traditions in different parts of the world. Now, I want to start by saying I believe that you should learn to be in tune, at least to how we think of like A440 and everything against that on our instruments. So if you're going to grab a G natural on your E string, or any note on your instrument, you should learn to play that note in tune. And there are kind of levels of being in tune and really learning how to make your instrument sing and all these things. But it's my experience that people who tend to live more inside of classical music, and now I want to be clear, I'm not being hard on classical music. I love classical music. I'm a Suzuki teacher. I don't teach very far into the repertoire, but I do have some training in that, so that's all good with me. But the thinking from that side of music tends to stop right there. Like there's a G natural, and that's it, or there's a G sharp, and that's it. But listening to Gard talk about how he plays with intonation on his instrument was really, really neat. I really enjoyed it. He was talking about this tune that he taught us, and I don't know the tune well at the moment, but I'm gonna do my best to play a little bit of it so you can kind of hear him. Sorry. There's a cool little trill right there. He was talking about on that trill, I'm playing an F sharp, one on my E string, going to a G natural, but he actually he was saying he plays the quarter tone, so right in between G sharp and G. That was just a really neat thing. And then he actually went a little further with it. He said, sure, there are quarter tones, these things in between our half steps. But he was saying also the way he thinks about it is like there's like a thing right beneath and above the quarter tone. So he was saying that he calls, like for example, this thing right above G, G plus. So it's not the quarter tone, it's right there. Here's the quarter tone. And then here's G sharp. And he was saying he calls that the note below that G sharp minus. So he's saying, I can't say that I'm doing it all incredibly well. I'm trying to give you all a rough idea here. So I just love what he was saying about how there's these gradations of what he tries to play with. And he was like, if I'm playing solo, I can like create variations on where I'm doing these trills and stuff like that, or like where I'm kind of using these grace notes and like what version of that do I want to use. And he said, of course, if I'm playing with a band, maybe I'll say, oh, I want G plus right here. I loved it. I thought it was so fascinating. And this concept of microtonality is by no means foreign to me. Um, it happens all the time in American old time. There's plenty of tunes where, yes, there are recordings where fiddlers are just older or their instruments were out of tune and they're kind of out of tune, and that's all fine. And we need to learn those recordings from a place of being in tune. But, like Eck Robertson's Dusty Miller, um, off of the recordings that were made of him in the 70s, I think, there's this moment, so. Right there in that tune, to me, he's in that not, it's not G sharp, but it's not A natural. So it's not that, but it's not, it's this. And I hear him do it repeatedly. So to me, that's not, and I've heard Eck play very in tune. So this is not Eck being an out-of-tune fiddle player. This is a conscious decision to change the pitch a little bit. And to me, it does kind of give his version of Dusty Miller this kind of meaner texture. I don't know how to put it, but I just think it's so cool. So my point in all this being is just, I don't know, I just wanted to just share what I had learned and what I was excited about and what I was curious about in all of this. I think it just shows, there's traditions from all over the world, and there's a lot of ways to approach playing the fiddle and music, and there's value to exploring these things if you're curious about them, if it lines up with what you want. But also something I tell my students is, you have to be in tune before you can be consciously out of tune. So the other side of this is not to give yourself an excuse and say, oh, no big deal, I'll just be out of tune and I'm being microtonal. Or I'm just using a G plus there. No, you can't do that either. You gotta know what you're doing, right? You gotta be able to play in tune. That's just part of the way it works. But if you want to play with it, and there's some room and some space for that, why not? Maybe there's, especially if you think from an old time perspective, American old time, you're playing a solo piece, you're not having, a banjo obviously is going to be, the frets make it to where they have to be on that note. They don't have the same gradation that a fiddle has. So, or a mandolin or something like that. So what you could do as the fiddle player, though, if you're playing a solo piece, is you could play with those things a little bit. Could play with that in Glory in the Meeting House. And you can come in and out of it a little bit. I mean, these are just things I was just messing with this morning after being inspired from the workshop. So anyways, so be in tune, and then if you want to, be a little out of tune, but on purpose and with intention. All right, thanks for watching.